Hi friends, welcome to the Happy Homemaker. I'm here with my coffee and today I'm making apple turnovers. They're really easy, they're really fast to make. It takes only about 20 minutes and I'm going to start making them now. It's morning and I think that we're gonna have them for dessert for lunch today or maybe as an afternoon snack, I don't know yet. But I'm ready here with my coffee and I'm going to start now. So stick around, stay until the end if you want to watch how to make apple turnovers. Thanks. Okay, so let's get started. I have three Granny Smith apples. They're in that bowl and they are peeled and quartered, and then I cut them into smaller pieces. Now I'm adding the zest of one lemon and 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. So you can see that I'm measuring there. Sometimes I use just a lemon and just squeeze it into the bowl, but I decided to do it that way so that the recipe is accurate. And now I'm adding 3 tablespoons of sugar, just regular white sugar. Gives a nice sweetness and caramelization to the filling, even though it just is cooked in the oven. And then 1 tablespoon of flour to make sure that it gets nice and tight and the sauce isn't too watery because the apples have a lot of water in them. So now I'm adding about half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and this makes it delicious. It's a really good recipe. I mix the cinnamon and the nutmeg, and that gives it some depth of flavor. It's a really good combo with the apples. So, of course, you have to put cinnamon anytime you use apples, right? But many people don't add the nutmeg. The nutmeg is about a quarter of a teaspoon that I'm adding right there. And it's very easy to do. I also add a pinch of salt. I'm adding kosher salt here because that's what I use to cook with. I don't like table salt. Some people like to bake with table salt. I do not. I use kosher salt for everything. I think it's a much better tasting salt. And then I'm just mixing it up until, the lemon juice covers the apples as well as the spices and the sugar. And one time I actually bought like 5 different types of salt and tasted each one to see which one I liked best, and the kosher salt won. So you don't have to use fleur de sel or anything like that in this, but fleur de sel is delicious as a finishing salt. So now I am going to roll out some puff pastry, and it's just easy puff pastry. It comes from the freezer. You don't have to make your own. I've never tried to make my own puff pastry, and that's one of the blind spots that I have in my baking. I don't feel too great about that I only use store-bought puff pastry, but it's pretty difficult to make, and it takes hours, like 8 hours, and you have to do special folds and put it in the fridge for an hour, then you do another fold, and you do that like 8 times in succession. So that's something that I've never attempted to make myself. But you're just rolling it out a little bit. Just make that square a little larger. And it looks like a rectangle in the video, but it's actually a square. It comes like that in folded in thirds. So you're just trying to stretch it out a little bit so that you have a little bit more room for the filling. So I'm just rolling it out like that, and then I'm going to cut it into 4 turnovers. This recipe makes 8, so you need a full box of puff pastry. And then something else that I'm going to do now, and I had forgotten to do this, is to get an egg and make an egg wash, because you're going to need the egg wash in order to close up the turnovers. And you use a fork to crimp them together. So then now I'm just getting a little bowl and you'll see me make an egg wash there. It's very easy. For this type of egg wash, I just use an egg and water. If I'm putting something on top of a puff pastry or something like that, sometimes I use egg and heavy cream. I think that gives a great sheen. But today I'm just using one egg with a little bit of water, and you're just beating it up with a fork. And it's very easy to make. And now I'm gonna have to find my brush. Where is it? I can't find it. So it took me a while to find it, but once I did, it was a lot easier. And I'm going to do that around the edges. So first I'm putting the filling in each of the turnovers. And I have a quarter cup measure there, but see, try not to overfill them. It's kind of hard to fold them closed if you have overfilled them. So, it doesn't really matter the size of the apple pieces, it's how many you put in there. So that's one thing. So I found my brush, it's there. And now I'm just doing each corner of the puff pastry. And then I'm going to close them up and crimp them together, and I'll show you that. What I did was I had forgotten to turn on the oven. So while the oven was preheating, I put the prepared turnovers in the fridge because puff pastry should be baked cold in a hot oven. That's the way to get really puffy turnovers, and you'll see at the end how puffed up these get. And if it's starting to melt a little bit because there's a lot of butter in puff pastry, then you'll have a hard time getting it to puff up as prettily as it can. It's a very pretty dough. So you'll see me closing up the turnover. So you just turn it on a diagonal like that. Crimp it with your fingers first, and then I'm going to reach for a fork there to do the final crimping. And that makes it really easy to move it to a prepared baking sheet. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'll show you one there and put it on the baking sheet. And then I'll show you all of them together once I'm done. So like I said, this recipe makes 8, and these are them ready to go into the oven. And I've already put the egg wash on top of them, and that makes it really easy. And if you have a pastry brush, it doesn't matter if it's a regular pastry brush, it is. And this is the final result. They go in a 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes, depending on how dark you like them. Some of mine are a little more dark brown than others. But if you want to put them in the fridge while you're waiting for your oven to preheat, that's a good idea as well. So thank you for being here. These were delicious. We had them for breakfast, actually. So it was really nice. And I post videos on Fridays. I post a homemaking video, usually a talking video. And then on Mondays, I post cooking videos. So check out my channel, see if there's anything you like. And if you like this type of content, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss my other videos. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you watching the video, and let me know how much you like this recipe. Thanks. Bye.